Welcome back to another episode of just me yapping. Originally, I wanted to like play Minecraft, but the mod pack I want to play has to be updated, and I'm quite a few versions behind, so it's like super slow to update. In the meantime, we'll just have to make do with some Honkai Star Rail background gameplay. The first topic is Manhwa I stumbled across. It's so peak. Why is it peak? Because the author gives consideration to the story they're telling. It's not one of those like just, oh, I made a story just for cash grab, or I made the story just because I have one or two ideas that I want to like show to people. There is cohesiveness in storytelling. I say this again and again and again. It's just so rare for like a story to just have continuity and like reasonable explanations for each character's motives and actions. Now this Manhwa has like one or two different names. One of them is like the hero has returned. The other one is the warrior returns. Either way, I'll flash the Manhwa image on the screen and you'll be able to find it that way. I would say, just as a warning, like you want to definitely just bear with the first 10 chapters or so. It's intentionally written that way to be like really kind of brain dead. When I say brain dead, I mean like the character is so cliche and has like really dog shit motives, and it seems like the character is throwing a temper tantrum or just lashing out for no good reason. That's what happens in the first 10 to 15 chapters, but it's going to be revealed by the author, like the reason behind it. It started picking up steam around chapter 30 to 34, maybe somewhere around there. By the time I checked my chapters, I'm already like chapter 40. I was like, whoa, I had no idea, because I started that story sometime around like 10 p.m. at night, and I just couldn't stop myself from reading it. When I was about to put my phone down, it was already like 11:40. The story really captured my attention, and it only got better and better. I pretty much finished the 160 chapters within like 3 to 4 days. That's an impressive amount of chapters. These manhwas and webtoons, they're often colorized and high quality, but this one in particular, it has like several pages to it per chapter. I'm talking about like 50, 40, maybe even 80. The workload is tremendous. The artist did a wonderful job. The craziest part is I think I've only seen one like notice of hiatus or notice of delay by the artist. One time during this entire run, which started around like 2021, maybe 2022, somewhere around there. Within these 3-4 years, this artist only took a break once. That's impressive by itself. All right, now enough like glazing the authors and artists. The meat of the story is that these kids, these teenagers, specifically from Korea, they get transported into a different world, each to their own worlds, killing their own demon lords, returning back to the real world. It should have been a happy story, except nobody really gets their just rewards. So once they're back in the real world, everybody just became a normal student again, or back to their shitty life, back to their whatever life. Except for this one guy, the guy we see at the start of the 10 chapters, right? He returns, he gets his shit fucked up, he loses both his parents, he has rumors spread about him, and he's just not a lovable guy. And when he was just walking on the streets losing his shit, some knucklehead bump into him and be like, oh fucking, oh gangsterlicious. And then guess what happened to that guy? That guy got fucking cut in half by a huge ass sword. So yes, these heroes, once they return to the real world, they get to retain their abilities. You see so many different aspects of humanity being portrayed in this one series. You have intelligent characters, you have hotheads, you have like leveled headedness, you have people who are just purely compassionate, you have people who are just muscle brained. There's so many like multifaceted characters, which is unusual for a fucking isekai show, to be honest. You know, it's like kind of linear most of the time. Another thing that caught my attention with this story is like occasionally there will be some panels where the message that the author tried to deliver is so good that it's just like, wow, this could have been a whole philosophy class on its own. Yes, granted, it's a little bit of a rehash for some of the more cliche messages, but it's done correctly. That's impressive, you know? It's not shoved into your face, but it flows with the story when they're delivering these cliche messages. For example, this one we're seeing right now was the fact that my ability had held hostage the futures of nearly 8 billion people. I'm not going to give you context to this statement because I hope you read through the story and get it. But when you see this message, you'll be like, holy shit, this guy's determination and what he values is so next level, so devoid of selfishness that when you look at his actions in the story, you're like, holy shit, he legit had to sacrifice everything he stood for in order to achieve the greater goal, right? Like, holy fuck. Another thing about the story is the world these characters are in. Okay, maybe it's too much of a spoiler, so I won't say much, but let's just say the world is actually not one-to-one with our world. Manhwa's real world, like their Korea, their China, their Americas, their history is a little bit different. Their world is just borrowing parts of our reality. So I would say like realistic fiction, you know? In the story, there's definitely one character whose design is gonna stick out like a sore fucking thumb. I'm not gonna mention who, but you'll see it, and when you do, you'll be like, holy shit, that guy like don't fit with the entire like story. When you read that guy's fucking backstory, you're gonna shed at least one drop of tear, because that character is embodiment of selflessness. All of these heroes, they get transported into another world and they usually finish their journey within a year. This guy did the same. However, physically it did not work out that way for this character. And it's just like he would have become like the asshole in the first 15 chapters had he not had such a great support system. And that's as much as I want to spoil about this character, because like it's like 80 chapters deep, some shit like that. How I feel about the story right now is that like it has 2 hills and 2 troughs. What I mean is that like the story progressed like a roller coaster. There's 2 peaks and 2 troughs. Once you reach the peak around like 40, it keeps going, and then like the thrill you get when it starts going down is just incredible. But it will hit a trough where like, okay, this is kind of getting dragged out, but then after a while it goes back up again, and that's like your second peak, and then it goes back down. It's just one of the characters in the later half of the story, around like chapter 100, he's kind of boring. This character, he works too much within the limitation of being a normal average day human, and I think it's okay to not like him, because, you know, yeah, there's plenty of characters to like besides this one. He's one of the characters whose whole shtick is to be like human, but then you see some supernatural ass powers coming out of him. So it's just more like putting fondue on cake and calling it human, I guess. I don't know. I could go on and on about the story. Maybe I should clear up my thought though, so maybe I'll come back later if there's a chapter for a second part. For now, moving on, I want to talk about the movie Sinners. Sinners is a movie that got released in April 18th, 2025. It's got a pretty positive review on Letterboxd, which is the review platform I use. The movie duration is 2 hours. It's rated R, co-produced by Ryan Coogler. I went into this movie blind because my friend just wanted to watch it after seeing the overwhelming positive reviews of the film, so I just tagged along. No idea who any of the cast were, what their past achievements were. I just wanted to watch a movie. My friend did tell me that like it's gonna be a vampire movie, so I was wondering when it was gonna show up. But first, I want to give like credits to Michael B. Jordan. This guy, he fucking could act, bro. Like, I'm surprised. Homie can fucking act. He got aura. And did you know this man, like, he played 2 characters in the film? It should have been obvious, but I couldn't pick it up. I was like, oh man, how did they get 2 actors that look so similar? And, you know, their role just so happens to be twins. So I'm like, okay, maybe they just found 2 twins that actually look similar. And no, I don't know who Michael Jordan B. I don't know. And no, I don't know who Michael B. Jordan is. Like, his face is not imprinted in my mind, so I did not pick him up right away. I had to search this just now, bro. I actually, in fact, had no idea that Michael B. Jordan and Michael Jordan are 2 different folks. I thought they were the same guy. I'm like, this guy could fucking act and play basketball? Okay, excuse my fucking retardation, but like, yeah. Holy fuck. All right, never mind. Michael B. Jordan, he's just an actor through and through. Man did solid fucking work. Holy shit. That aside, let's start from the top. So the movie is about fucking post-liberation America, but the blacks are still being kept on plantations, basically indentured servitude. And a little bit of a history lesson. Basically, these plantations, they have their own currency system, which can only be used on the plantation that the slaves, quote unquote, reside on. So imagine this: you work for your boss, and all this boss ever give you is monopoly money. And this monopoly money works in your boss's farmland within its boundaries. once you walk out, monopoly money is still monopoly money. You can't buy shit where it requires real money. So that's one key thing to note. Money is a bit different back then, and money is a big motive for our twins who happen to came back to their childhood home, childhood plantation. All right, maybe I should read it off of my fucking movie review. Pulling this shit off the top of my head is kind of hard. Okay, just gonna like start all over again because I think I got a little bit lost there. The beginning of the film included like a lot of jump scares right away, which, you know, kind of annoying, a bit distracting as well. It didn't really set the tone for me because like it took a while for the horror aspect to set in. So again, jump scares within literally the first 5 minutes of the film starting literally made me want to fucking just neck myself. That shit was unnecessary. Casting for the characters, I think each character were very charming and physically recognizable for their role, and they did a great job. I could just literally tell you, hey, there was a big, tall, fat dude in the movie, and you would know exactly who I'm talking about because there's not many big, tall, fat dudes. The twins had their motifs be colors, so one of them wear red, one of them wear blue, and that for some reason just worked. It didn't feel too cartoonish, it just worked. The twins stood out a lot as characters in the film because they're supposed to be these Chicago gangsters returning to Mississippi, visiting their, like, I would say hometown, because back then like people were just racist, so they probably don't even feel like they're at home, and their family members are trapped on plantations, so they're just back, you know, back to their old area. But this time these two twins, they got money, so they bought a rundown mill from a racist white guy who will make a return at the end of the film. Now, I do think the movie's genre is a little bit mislabeled. This movie feels very campy and comedic for, like, I would say 30%, 25% of the film. It feels really funny to me. But the way the movie started off with one of the twins shooting some guy in the cheeks, I believe it was a Stack or was it Smoke? I think it was the dude in red. Yeah, pretty sure it's the dude in red who is Smoke. So Smoke shot one guy in the cheeks and one guy in the knee. Near what I will call the falling action of the film, we had like a drunk dude that's passed out being tossed out and fed to the vampires. So that was hilarious. A little bit unexpected. And big spoilers coming up ahead. Feel free to skip now. At the end of the movie, right? Smoke was about to cross over to the other side and the fucking like dumbass clan member interrupted his, you know, really touching moment to say some bullshit. And then Smoke just decided to just rip and tear, unloaded his fucking bullets into this guy. Anyways, the movie just felt very lighthearted, and it's not a bad thing. It just kind of conflicts with the tone or the genre a little bit. I enjoy the way the movie was told, very slowly, elegantly. It just unravels itself. We get an idea of who the twins were, how they were remembered by the locals as they travel around town. We really feel the story being brought to life as the twins each do their own thing, you know, rekindling old relationships, visiting people that they worked with in the past, all in an attempt to gather folks and attention to their business opening up in the mills. The highlight of the film was when Sammy's Blues, being visually represented as connecting the past, present, and future, having all these different cultures and era of musicians being displayed on screen at one place, should have felt very out of place, jarring, and potentially ruined the film completely. But it did not. The execution was incredible. The way that the music faded, combined, synergized, and absolutely like just recombined, delivered one of the most impressive scenes in the film. And it's a recall to the opening where, you know, they say certain people with musical talents are so good at their craft that it thins the veil between life and death. It was such an enchanting moment that I feel like it was worth it just to see the movie for this scene. And it came pretty quick too. So once you see that scene, you could probably just walk out of theater. I'm gonna be so real. The film keeps getting better until like at some point, I guess the vampires just get fed up and started bum rushing the building and just demolishing one of the rules that got set up in the film, which is vampires cannot enter a building unless they're invited. Maybe I fell asleep somewhere, but I sworn that at no time did any of the characters invite these vampires in. So what the fuck? They just ditched the rule. And this is not like a novel rule set by the film. It's been a traditional folklore rule regarding vampires where they cannot visit a household unless they're invited in. So it's not just some one-off shenanigan rules. It actually exists in folklore. Personally speaking, if this movie was like a standalone era piece, it definitely would have like not drawn as much attention It would have been a top-notch film regardless, however. The intimacy of the twins with their past partners, Slim being this drunk musician, Sammy and his father, the struggles of the plantation, the Chow family, things like that. The plot in the movie was literally right there, but the vampire aspect was like forcibly injected into the film, I feel like. This film didn't play with the colors as much, I don't think. There wasn't many shots where there's hues being changed. It was mainly just warm and regular white balance. There wasn't much else to be done. On this color spectrum, it leans on the warm side. You don't see any like crazy colors like green, purple, maybe a little bit of blue, I'm not sure. The movie just paints such a solid image of what life could be like, you know, during that specific period in America's history. I'm sure there's some glorified, some beautified parts because real life is often more crueler than that, but you get to see how like humans persevere through like these tough and difficult times. I don't know, it's just very touching. There are some really good transitions and shots in the film, such as this one scene where like a girl was about to scream as they're getting attacked by a vampire, and then it cuts to like someone inside of the clubhouse just dancing and screaming. So that was pretty neat. And then there was another scene where Bo Chow, Asian guy who's a doctor, I believe, was looking up at Stack, and then Bao Chow is moving his head, pointing to the left, motioning Stack to look that way. And with the previous established shot, which is Smoke getting action from Stack's previous love interest. So we were totally expecting, as audiences, right? Expecting the next shot to be Stack rushing down the stairs, confronting Smoke. But no, it wasn't like that. The audience was completely misdirected. The next shot was Stack walking into a room, settling a fight. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. Lastly, I just want to wrap it up. Like, I really like the film, how no one really was acting too stupid. Everybody was reacting within the realms of reason, such as Grace Chow holding herself back long enough to not invite any vampires in, Stack being mentally strong enough to stick through the film as a leader, and no one did anything particularly stupid, which I appreciate a lot. It just makes the film that much more digestible. I think this movie would have worked better as like a musical and period piece. It just has so much potential, but the vampire aspect just felt kind of out of place and nonsensical. Maybe it's necessary to like bring out the Bayou aspect, like that cultural aspect for that era. I'm not sure. Again, this film, I think the acting and casting is a 5 out of 5. Stage design, 6 out of 5. Scores and sounds, impeccable, 5 out of 5. Script and story, excluding the vampires, would be 5 out of 5. If we include the vampires, I have to drop it down to a 3 out of 5. The movie would have done so much better without the vampires. Holy fucking shit. To close off the video, which probably is pretty long at this point, I've been listening to a song called Hey Phone. Hey Phone by Peter Parker 69 and Yujiro Noda. So give it a listen. Maybe it'll be something you like. Music link in the description below. All right, everyone, have a good day, good evening, good morning, and happy holidays.